Hello and welcome back to the On the Slab Horror Show, the show that we bring to you each and every Friday night. Why we do this on a Friday night? Because Friday night is horror night, ladies and gentlemen. But tonight, as it says, joined by a guest from the States. This is author, paranormal investigator, medium, demonologist, and one of the stars of the hit Netflix show 28 Days Haunted, Mr. Sean Austin. How are you, sir?
Hey, how you doing? Thank you for having me on.
Thanks for taking time out of your day to come on. I know it's sort of midday for yourselves.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. That's the joys of getting people on from the States.
I'm sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely a
Uh,
different world in that sense.
Absolutely. But before we get into it, I have spoke to you off screen about we got gifted a set of card games at the For the Love of Horror Con, and I'm wondering, would you like to be the first guest to try them out? It's called an Evil What Would You Do? So
All
it
right,
gives you a
yeah,
random scenario.
all right, give it a whirl.
Let's see. This is a new thing we're doing, folks. For a while, we'll see. We told the gentleman who gave them to us that I'd pop them on the show. So, and if you do enjoy them, you can get them at evilcards.com, evilcardgames.com. Right, as you can see, brand new deck. First guest, Sean. It's all the pressure now. It says I don't even know what's on these. So, uh, all right, you get a handy one. Your child or relative loses their tooth, but you don't have money to put under their pillow. What would you do?
So, child loses the tooth, and I have no money to put under the pillow.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Tell him that the tooth fairy's on vacation. It'll be coming next week.
It's coming payday. That's a good answer. That's a good
Payday.
answer. I'll give you a funny one actually that came up. So my young lad lost 4 teeth in the space of 3 weeks, and we very rarely have cash in the house. So we used the same €5 4 times in a row.
Oh gosh.
Now we did give him the 20, but in the end, the same one 4 times in a row.
Wow.
Right,
Jeez.
I'll give you one more because that one was yeah, I'm not reading that one out because that has some racist stuff in it.
Oh
uh,
jeez.
your ex calls you and says they want you back. What do you do?
Hang up the phone.
Problem was answering the phone.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure there's worse ones in there as the guests in later times will find out. You got lucky.
Yeah, yeah. Sounds like you turned that into a fun drinking game.
Yeah, there is a certain way of playing it where it's like everyone that knows me, I'd give them the cards and they'd write down what they think I'd do. But obviously that doesn't work for guests because I might have had maybe a couple of days conversation with you. But
Right.
um, that's enough of that for now. So let's dive straight in. Sean, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got
Yeah.
into the world of paranormal.
Absolutely. It's coming up on 14 years of my involvement in the paranormal. I'd say that I got involved in the paranormal by mistake. There was some sort of quote unquote trigger. I was waiting at a restaurant with a buddy of mine who's probably the most cynical, skeptical person ever. And I always watched paranormal documentaries back in the days, shows like sightings, unexplained mysteries, anything of those sort, or episodes of a haunting. And as a kid, I was a horror movie buff too. I was reading Stephen King novels in grammar school. I loved everything horror, but not until this friend of mine, I wanted to prove to him that ghosts are real, even though I never thought of going out myself, but I believed in it. So I took him to a local cemetery that had an urban legend of three women in white chasing out of the cemetery. And in that process, I got my first EVP of a little girl in front of a little girl's grave. And the next night, when I reviewed the audio from my flip phone, right before we had smartphones, that's where I had these responses from disembodied voices of spirits. And 3 weeks later, I saw a shadow of a little girl at the corner of my bed. It was light out even, and that really was the catalyst to me going out, investigating, and trying to understand the paranormal. Because then I knew it was real, and then I started reading books such as The Demonologist by Ed Lorraine Warren.
Great
Um,
book, that.
Shadows of the Dark, John Zaffis, and then Ralph Sarchi's book, which was Beware the Night, became Deliver Us from Evil, the movie. That's also ended up becoming my mentor in demonology, which became
That's
the
the
hit movie
Eric
Deliver
Bana
Us from
one, is
Evil.
it?
What was that?
The Eric Bana movie.
Yes, that the real Ralph Sarchi is my mentor in demonology, and I was on a um, three episode series called The Demon Files. You can watch on Discovery Plus with the real Ralph on it. I was an investigator for him. So I was mentored in demonology from him over the years to where I am today. And yeah, it led me to end up publishing two books of mine regarding my stories, Shadow Chaser and Shadow Chaser the In Between. I've been traveling the world, and I was on multiple TV series like Ghost Loop, and obviously the Netflix show 28 Days Haunted, and done multiple documentaries on a new streaming platform called ScareNetwork.tv, and we're filming a bunch new this year. Just constantly being busy with the passion of the paranormal and the unknown.
Jeez, that's a hell of a way to get into something like that. By mistake. It's a happy mistake, though. I'd say for me. Obviously, it's very very easy to be passionate about something you're into, and if you can make a living out of it, it makes it all that much better for you.
Well, when I first started doing it, I never even thought of it being some sort of potential lucrative thing from a financial standpoint. I was just so exhilarated and excited to the fact that this stuff was real. I didn't care. I was just going out with a recorder and a K2 meter, and then I would advance and get a spirit box, and I would just go out for the experience. I mean, it was before all this live streaming and stuff like that. I wanted to attain knowledge from my experiences, and I seem to have skipped quite a few grades in that process because I believe in the process of investigating the paranormal and engaging spirits and being open to it. I immediately started to have a spiritual awakening, and came about medium-like abilities, where I started having premonitions and hearing voices and having visions and all sorts of stuff in the middle of my life. It's kind of like I was struck by lightning or a meteor out of the sky, and here I am going off into the unknown, doing backstrokes in it ever since.
Awesome. Like I've had a couple of uh, paranormal investigators, sorry, on the show before. We had the occult family from England, and we had Gina Linnell Schaefer, another author and medium and stuff on, and they were very very popular episodes. I think a lot of people buy into the unknown and find it easier to listen to somebody, whether they believe or not, for you to sit here and say, well, this has happened to me and I've seen this and that, rather than watching something on the telly where you go, that could be fake. So that kind
Yeah,
of way, like,
and that's the thing too, especially these days, because unfortunately there are a lot of people that fabricate evidence for the sake of having a broadened, bigger audience. That's why I tell people to go out, and if you have the courage to go out and figure it out yourself, is go out and investigate yourself to see if you can have some sort of experience. Because when you witness something that you have no rational explanation for, that's why we call it the unexplained. But if you're watching something on the screen, no matter who it is, you can sit there and pull it apart and come up with a rational explanation for it. Ultimately, especially these days with all the effects and how you can be perceiving things, what you're watching. So it's really all about firsthand experience these days, unless you just want to believe in it.
absolutely. Like, I'm thinking back now when I first started watching any of the paranormal shows. It was the Ghost Hunters, wasn't it? The Taps lads.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the first ones, sure.
Yeah, that one. I remember flicking through the channels one night, and there was an episode where they were in Ireland,
Hmm.
and I was like, okay, let's watch this and see. And I was
Hmm.
hooked on it since. Now, I know there has been rumors that that was fake and a lot of it was staged,
Hmm.
but it kind of got me into that kind of thing. I was like, well, maybe it could be. Um, sorry, excuse me. We had um, we had a demonologist come out to our house must have been about 8 years ago. No,
Hmm.
7 or 8 years, 6 or 7 years ago. Because there was loads of random stuff happening in the house that we were living in at the time. Um, so like, do you know the way the baby monitors can pick up other stuff, other people talking and stuff, and people can freak out with it. So
Hmm.
we had our young fella. He was only one at the time, and he was in his room. We were in the sitting room watching something, and you could hear this lady talking to him. And we were I originally put it down to it's picking something up, and uh, and then you could hear him kind of babbling back. And myself and my other half went to the door, and as we got to the door, it was like a loud little scream,
Hmm.
and then he started roaring as we
Hmm.
went to walk in, and then like she thought she heard someone screaming in her ear when there was no one else in the house and stuff.
Well,
We got a demonologist in, and he maintains that there wasn't anything there, but he kept him and his wife came in, and they kept kind of the look where they're like as if to say we're not telling them something.
right.
But it all kind of went away after they done whatever they done in the house.
Mm. Yeah, it can happen like that sometimes.
Yeah, but so that was the first thing. I'd never even heard of a demonologist up until then. Really, obviously I'd heard of the Warrens, but I wouldn't know what they were called
Right.
in terms of like demonologist, paranormal investigator, or anything like that.
Hmm.
But yeah, so being in here now doing this, I've got to talk to a good few people, and everyone kind of has the same kind of thing. It started off really small, and then it's building and building and building for them.
Hmm.
And obviously for yourself now, I know you're saying you didn't get into it to make a lucrative lifestyle out of it, but obviously being picked up, the show being picked up by Netflix and being on that is obviously going to help um massively get your name out there and
Yeah.
spread the word of paranormal investigation and stuff. So how has it been since being picked up by Netflix for you?
I mean, I'm humbled to be able to be have any sort of opportunity to be up there in a stage in front of a big audience and be involved with my passion. And I've been lucky to be a part of a few different TV network series and stuff like that. Obviously, it gets your name out there to a certain extent. It's always nice, but I think it's powerful to kind of show people how you do things and how you approach the paranormal, and people can kind of relate to you or connect to you, and you can help people just by seeing certain aspects of how you approach the paranormal. And I'm always trying to make a difference in a positive manner, how I do my investigations, how I approach them. And I think some of that was actually on the show, and there was also things that you didn't see on the Netflix show that I was very bummed that didn't make it on there. But people can actually watch that. All you got to do is go to YouTube and type in Mercy 28 Days Haunted. You can actually see a 20-minute video, mini documentary of evidence you didn't see on the show, with this connection of the female spirit on the show, that ended up inspiring me to write a song, which this spirit of the female knew about. And I have evidence to back that up. And her voice is a part of the song that I wrote. And I was on a beach singing this song, that I did a music video at the end, so you can watch this whole thing. And that experience is really what I take away mostly out of the Netflix show. Is I really felt that I was there for a reason, um, because of this connection I had with the female, whether I was there with cameras or not. This is the most beautiful, emotional, a profound paranormal experience I've had. And That's what I take away from that, most importantly, which will be a part of my lectures for the rest of my life. And I definitely, if you like the show, watch that video and look it up.
We'll make sure. What I'll do is I'll get you to send me the link to it, and we'll attach it below as well. Because I know it's turned out to be a very, very popular show.
Hmm.
Um, off Netflix, obviously, and like obviously other streaming sites that it's on, but it's on Netflix for us over here. Um, but like it's great to see somebody that started so randomly, we'd say, to being that good that TV shows are bringing you on. I know, as you said, you didn't do it for that, but to see people making it and being passionate about it rather than hiring X, Y, and Z to come in and pretend to do it. Do you know, that kind of way.
Yeah, I mean, if you make a living off what you love to do, you never work a day in your life. And that's always been every risk in the world to me because I mean, I was a singer and songwriter before I was even involved in the paranormal. And I had very, big aspirations to want to be able to do that, make a living off creating music and performing. And then the paranormal kind of hit me over the head again, like kind of a meteor out of the sky and took me off into a whole new journey. And again, I never thought that would be some sort of thing that would be where I ended up. It was just, I thought it was just going to be like this is kind of interesting. And then I just started landing opportunities over the course of just year after year. And I'm appreciative of it. And again, anything involved with my passion, I'm appreciative to have these things happen. But in the meantime, whether I'm on TV or not, I'm out there investigating, doing research, and trying to help people on residential cases or helping the souls that may be trapped at some of these locations we investigate. And that's how I approach investigations, always trying to help and pray for the spirits that may be trapped on some of these locations, even like I did on the Netflix show for the Spirit of the Woman.
So, what you're saying there, you pray for them. Would you be overly religious then?
What was that? Would I be what?
Would you be overly religious?
I wouldn't say I'm like overly religious. But I'm a Catholic demonologist, and spiritual. So I do offer up prayer for the spirits, to try to help them cross. And it's pretty amazing to actually see the reciprocal results, through the box. Praying for spirits that have evidence over the years of spirits praying with me and saying, "Thank you, I'm going to heaven," and all this stuff that happens because of that just kind of takes my faith to a whole new level in that process as well. And I really think that that can really help some of the situations in some of these locations, and even the ones that where families are experiencing stuff, rather than just going in there, doing an investigation, saying your place is haunted. It's getting down on an individual level with some of the souls there, so they have a real chance to find peace and transition, and not just trying to force it and displace everything out from the location. There's a real reward from there because if you really offer that mutual respect between you and these earthbound souls that are there, you can really help them and the situation as a whole in many aspects.
Interesting way of looking at it. Obviously, as I said, we had a demonologist out, and he was the same. It was praying. It was he said he wasn't overly religious, but he was, yeah, as you said, a Catholic demonologist. So he done the same kind of thing. I was just wondering, is there a different way of going about it, or is that seemingly the way that most people go?
I mean, there's many people that have different approaches to how they help people or souls or how they approach the paranormal. And, I don't judge anyone as a different belief system than I do. I just approach it from, with my experience incorporated to how I was brought up, but it's also my paranormal experiences that have brought my faith and just continued that faith to a whole new another level. It's not just because of what I've been reading in books. I mean, I've witnessed evil spirits react negatively to things of religious significance, and that's why I hold my faith and prayer so close to my heart and soul when I approach these cases and investigations, because it's not your physical muscle that protects you from these spirits, it's your spiritual muscle. And otherwise these things will use that to their advantage to manipulate the situation, to cause chaos within you psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, and so forth, with you and everyone around you that you care about.
It's a good way of looking at it, really, isn't it? It's you've got to be protected somehow. Now I wouldn't be religious in any way, shape, or form. Um, so I'd have to go for one of the other routes if that was my choice. But I mean, I don't knock anybody's faith. For if they want to believe, they can believe, or they do whatever they want to do. Um, but like it's great to see you're so strong. Obviously, you said you're quite passionate about the paranormal, so you know what you want, you know how you want to do it, and nothing will persuade that. Um, so like me saying, "Oh well, God doesn't exist," or this, that, and the other, I better not go too far because some people get really offended by things like that. Do you know what I mean? So, but you're happy enough to go. This is what I believe. This is how it works for me. This is how it's going. Um, So it is a great way to hear that obviously you're not dissuaded or you're not just picking it up because X, Y, and Z person told you this is how to do it.
No, I mean, like I was brought up Catholic, but in my beginning of journey in the paranormal, I had some dark encounters with some dark spirits, and the first thing that I went to was prayer and faith, and some of those experiences just again took my faith to a whole nother level. And then I ended up meeting Ralph, who mentored me and went on cases with Ralph, and that just continued that journey and that path towards my spirituality of my faith and prayer, dealing with these evil demonic spirits when you do encounter them genuinely, or just negative spirits in general, and how they can attack people from the shadows psychologically. That's the most delicate nature of the paranormal, how they can manipulate and the amplification of human emotions, negativity, anger, sadness, depression, whatever it may be, until you ultimately want to harm yourself or others.
So what would like was it long into your paranormal investigational career before you found your first real dark spirit?
Um, well, there was a place that I wrote about my first book, Shadow Chaser. And again, for any viewers, I know you're on the other side of the planet here. You can get both of my books on Amazon if you're in the UK. But there was a place
We'll put the
that when
link
I,
in for you as well.
yeah, sure. Absolutely. There was a place that I would drive by after work at the time. I was managing a wine store in my 20s. And there was a place I just knew there's a triple suicide associated with the property. I just knew that place was haunted. So, um, the mother was bludgeoned to death, and then the stepfather went off the bridge and killed himself. And the daughter found the mom, bloodied, and she ended up dying in the hospital. The daughter never got over the death. And, like, right to the same age of the stepfather, she went and jumped off the bridge, and said, "Mom, I'm coming to look for you." So in my eyes, I'm like, that place has got to be something going on. And I was right. I sit in my car without going on the property, and my buddy and I, and this girl, this voice comes through the EVP and says, "Killed my mother is what killed me too." And we got a blood curdling scream. And then I mentioned the stepfather's name, and his voice came through the recording as if like he was in the car with us. And because of the circumstances of watching all these paranormal documentaries, and I'm just going to give you an example. Say, for instance, family moves into a home, and they're having paranormal activity, and a medium comes into the home and says that you have this spirit that's trapping the family, that he killed himself and killed his whole family. He doesn't want them to cross over. He just because he doesn't want judgment for his own actions. So he's trapping all these souls. So in my mind, something of the sort was going on. So one night I took my dad's holy water, and I went on the side of the property without going on the property. And I just said, "In the name of Jesus Christ, if the daughter or the mother's soul are still trapped here, let them go." And because of that was a whole, again, catalyst to a whole assortment of experiences of the female spirit, the daughter following me around, telling me that I saved her from her stepfather's hell, and all this weird stuff started happening. And that seemed to be a reoccurring theme in my journey in the paranormal, of like helping souls that are trapped, not just the physical people on this planet that need help, but also the earthbound souls.
That is terrifying. Very, very uh what's the right word? Emotionally distressing, obviously, for some people listening. Um, but like that's terrifying to have something follow you around.
Oh, I'm accustomed to that so much at this point. I mean, there's things around me at all times. With all the investigating locations I go to, it's kind of just like it'll be quiet, and all of a sudden something weird will happen. It's just how it goes. Um, but it's more of me trying to disseminate where did this come from and why. There's also a fascination there too, because when the darker spirits come and visit me, um, it's like, okay, why are they visiting me? Where did it come from? Say for instance, we have this documentary coming out. It's going to be called The Demon Castle. It's about this man. He was a Scottishman that moved to upstate New York, who built a Scottish castle because he was supposed to work in town there in upstate New York, and he wanted to build a house that looked like a Scottish castle. And I was asked to come up there because the owners who took over the property they want to live there in a couple of years, and they said they have activity, want to get rid of whatever's in there. So we found out that they found a box with sigils on it, evidence of a ritual in there, and we definitely dealt with a true demonic spirit there. And I had my initial walkthrough of the castle, I had a vision of this lady that spin around in a dance, and then all of a sudden her face would turn into this black-eyed, freaking fanged thing and growled at me. And I told my buddy, and like we started to get all upstairs to the attic in our initial walkthrough, and right to the left of me, you just heard this nasty guttural growl. It sounded like something right out of a horror movie, and like we were just like, what the hell? And we captured it on audio. And at the time I didn't know, but we would be returning back there, about a month or two afterwards to film a documentary, and I had to do the exorcism ritual on the castle because that evil really was there. Now, a few days before I returned back to the castle, obviously this thing knew I was coming back there. There's no conception of time in the spirit world. Past, present, future are all the same thing. So they can tap into the future more so than we can. Our bodies get old because we're in the laws of the physical plane here. But yeah, I was laying in bed and I was fully awake, and I saw next to me a lady, just like the lady in a white dress, laying next to me with her face looking up towards the ceiling with her black eyes and just a twisted smile looking up. And then I saw these red glowing eyes at the corner of my bed. I knew in that moment that was the thing from the castle. I knew it was not happy that we were coming back. And we went back there and all this crazy stuff started happening. And we have a lot of evidence. I even have these yellow glowing eyes showing up on video and then disappearing. 10 minutes later, while I was on a live stream, I say I saw yellow glowing eyes, and then the spirit box it's saying, I'm like, what did I just see? It goes, it looked back, serpent. It's looking, something to that effect. And this thing was nasty. But that's just kind of like a brief recent example of you know things that I've encountered, or things you can encounter in the process of doing the work, so to speak.
When is that due out, Sean?
That I think it's going to be a two-part thing and should be out the end of this month. We're hoping for. But scarenetwork.tv, there's apps on Fire Stick, Apple iOS, Roku, and you can watch for free with just advertisements. So you can download the app and watch all the documentaries that I've filmed on, and I've been on a bunch of them, and some really good ones on there, including a documentary about my personal experiences about the Amityville horror case.
So that's what that was going to lead me into the next part. Obviously, you said you were at a Scottish castle. Have you been to any of um, the big areas, or that's not the right word, the big properties that are haunted, or well, I say that, but because some people won't believe, but that are possessed or haunted. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I've traveled around the country, many different places in the US for sure. Many. It's plenty.
um, so obviously, Amityville is probably the biggest or the
I
most
never
well
was
known
in
due to the movie.
I was never in the house, but the documentary that we filmed, which you can watch also on scareandwork.tv for free, I went by the house and the grave of the DeFeo family, and the boy, I believe John DeFeo's spirit was still stuck in the house, and he starts coming through the spirit box saying, "Pray for me." Now, my opinion is that no demonic spirit would ever ask you for prayer for any reason to bring you closer to God. So I prayed for the kid, and then I went home and I started waking up 3:15 in the morning, the times of the murder allegedly, having nightmares about the house, and then I'd see a black mist go through my ceiling constantly, and all these weird things started happening. So you hear about those experiences, and then evidence of paranormal evidence that we captured having to do with the case. Even have George Lutz's voice coming through the spirit box saying Amityville stole my soul. And I compared the voice to his real voice in an interview. And even a personal friend watched the documentary and dropped her phone when she actually heard that part. She's like, that's his voice.
That's that's alarmingly descriptive. Um, like
Yeah.
obviously everyone knows the Amityville story due to the movies. But like the house is nothing like the house that it used to be, is it? I know it's the appearance of the house has changed. The bay windows and all are gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but it's funny that you brought up the youngest brother. I think it's the youngest brother, isn't he?
Yep, John.
Yeah. Isn't it supposed to be him in the picture that a paranormal investigator took in the house on the
Yeah,
stairs?
so yeah, that photo was taken by one of Lorraine Warren's photographers, I believe, at the time. And what's interesting
Standing at the
enough is
bedroom.
that I'm actually Ralph from Deliver Some Evil. He's in the documentary with me, and he was there in front of the house. We sat in my car one night and turned down one of my devices, and I told him that the boy John was still here. And then Ralph asked, while we were in the car, I was like, John, was that you in that picture? And and you hear a boy's voice say, that wasn't me, clear as day.
That wasn't me.
Now, yeah, that wasn't me. So that could have been a demonic spirit disguising itself to look like John. And, what's interesting enough is that I found out later after we did the documentary, they did another documentary on Tubi about Amityville, which I never knew, is that John, the boy, was the last person to actually pass away from his wounds, from the gunshots that night, that fateful night on November 13th, 1974. Now, to me, that leads even more potential credence towards the whole family may have transitioned and left. And when the boy actually passed away, he may have still been in the house and somehow he got trapped there. But yeah, if you watch the documentary, I mean, we're sitting out there in front of the house and we got some crazy evidence. Like, I don't know anybody who has physical potential paranormal evidence as you're standing in front of the Amityville house. I literally have a ball of light of spirit energy. It flies around our car and comes through the windshield. So you can't say it's dust because dust can't come through the windshield from outside. It comes around and flies around in the car, and then as soon as it gets close to my camera, it shuts off. It's really weird. There's a lot of strange things that happen, and I think it's a little bit unique compared to all the other Amityville documentaries because most of the Amityville documentaries just talk about the old story and then they just debate, is it a hoax or not? And I can tell you from my firsthand experience and what I've had happen to me is that Hollywood does over accentuate some stories here when it comes to the movies. But I'm going to tell you right now, there is something to that story, and I feel like the whole story is cursed when you start talking about it. Things start to happen. There's something to it, and I know that from my own my own things that I've gone through.
Just before we kind of finish up, what other major locations have you been to?
That you maybe may know. I don't know. Waverly Hills. Have you heard about that one? That's considered one of the most haunted places in the world. It's a sanitarium in Louisville, Kentucky. Um,
That's the one where they used to do the electric shock therapy stuff, the old
oh yeah, and
abandoned.
they have a death tunnel where they would put all the bodies going down.
Yeah, it's the one you
Um,
see in all the documentaries, isn't it?
yeah, that's been in many documentaries. Yeah. I've been all sorts of places like that. Asylums, haunted farmhouses, mansions. I mean, you name it. Famous haunted graveyards. There's still lots of places that I'd like to go to, but I've been to many diversified haunted places. I don't know offhand of what you may or may not know um, offhand that I'm thinking of. I mean, there's so many new places that pop up too. Um,
What you need to do is you need to get on a plane and come over here.
yeah.
And there's two exceptionally famous areas in Ireland. Probably You're probably about an hour and a half from each other. Um, One of them is the Hellfire Club. I don't know whether you've ever heard of it.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, and then the other one is, oh crap, I can't remember the name of it now. Hold on, it's gonna drive me mental. I'll have to get the name of
Mhm.
it. It's something Manor. Um, Haunted Mansion. Oh, Wexford. Oh, Loftus Hall.
Okay.
Um, it's another story of it was a demonic presence that was said to be the devil gets invited in out of the storm one night, and they're playing cards, and it's a story that probably people have heard a million times where someone looks under the table and the guy's legs aren't legs,
Hmm.
and then he kind of disappears into the roof, but there's like a big black stain in the roof and stuff
No, that's cool.
that they can't get rid of.
Sounds
I
interesting.
actually, the
I
two
think
other
I remember that
co-hosts,
story vaguely.
yeah, I've heard it from a few different places, but allegedly this is the original place.
Hmm.
Um, we have an episode that the two lads done when the show first started. Sorry, excuse me, about both of those. I'll send it on to you and see what you think.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, there's a lot of places over here that are like that.
Nice.
Um,
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm trying to think if I can think of any more off the top of my head before I let you go. What about the New Orleans cemetery? Have you been there?
That's on my list to go to New Orleans. I almost
On my
got to go
list
a
too.
couple of times. I will definitely make it there for sure. I mean, it's another place that's very haunted ever. I mean, like Gettysburg is, I've been to Gettysburg so many times, and that's one of the most haunted places in the country too, with all the deaths and carnage there. I mean, the whole town's haunted. It's just everywhere, everywhere.
And
And I
they
think New
they
Orleans is
don't
kind of
hide
the
it
same thing.
either.
The what?
They don't hide it either. Like you'll have
Oh
spiritual
no.
people in shops and
Oh,
everything.
of course, yeah.
It's funny actually funny that I mentioned New Orleans. I was literally only watching. You said you were a horror movie buff. I was watching Hatchet today.
Oh, nice.
I don't know what you've seen. Adam Green's slash movie from 2006.
Hmm.
That's what made me think of New Orleans Cemetery.
Nice.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
obviously
yeah,
the
definitely.
swamps.
I'm even trying to get a movie concept off the ground this year myself, off a movie script and concept I came up with having to do with demons. So that'll be
Oh,
exciting
nice,
if I can get that going.
nice. I'm sure there'll be a lot of followers to that. Indiegogo has become amazingly popular for movie makers and stuff.
Hmm.
But certainly if you're starting something like that, let us know and we'll share it out for you as well.
No, thank you.
Uh,
Definitely.
and if you need now a voiceover,
Yeah,
um, no, but like I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to come on. There's a lot more I could delve into, but maybe we'll save it for another day.
sure. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Anytime.
we'll link back up. But as I said, I want to thank you for the time out of your day. Some of the stories you have are absolutely terrifying because I don't imagine waking up to someone standing at the end of my bed. Wouldn't be the first time it's happened, but not in that kind of manner.
I mean,
Um,
I've had plenty of just nice encounters and just weird encounters to was straight up as scary as you could imagine.
yeah, they see you can keep the scary ones. The other ones don't bother me because I can just put it off I can just put it off that I was asleep.
There you
I was imagining it.
go. Yeah.
But obviously you've mentioned you've a new show coming out. Obviously you've got the one on Netflix that's become extremely popular. And then the 20-minute documentary that you've done about the Netflix one.
Yeah.
Um, we'll make sure and put them all in the bio. Sorry, excuse me. My voice is going gradually as this episode's gone on.
No problem.
Um, but yeah, we'll certainly link that out. And then obviously, if you run the movie script, let us know, and we'll see what we can do in sharing it out
Yeah.
for you.
Thank you.
And once that new two-parter drops, let us know where we can find it, and
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
pop it out for you as well.
Sounds
Because
good.
I'd be extremely interested in watching it now.
Yeah, there's a
As I
bunch
said,
of stuff you can already watch on Scanner where we just did a full series too called Darkness in Suburbia. It's a whole Jersey neighborhood built in 2020, and they were built on top of a farmland where they used to send the Japanese internment campies. And the entire neighborhood's having paranormal activity, and there's 7 episodes to that. There's a bunch of stuff you can watch in there for free now with ads. Just download the app for free.
and what did you say the app was?
ScareNetwork.tv.
ScareNetwork.tv. I'm gonna write that down because I will turn this off and I will completely forget.
Yep.
ScareNetwork.tv. See, I don't know if we're gonna be able to get it over here.
You should be,
Oh
as far as
no,
I was
never mind.
told.
There we go. Oh, it's got movies not on it.
Hmm. You can watch for free right from the website. There's updates coming to the other apps. It's free officially on Roku. I don't know if Roku's in the UK, but Fire Stick and Apple, that'll be coming in the next, week or two. It'll be all free on there with ads too, unless you subscribe.
Perfect. We'll give that a bash, and obviously when the two-parter drops, let me know because I will jump on that. As I said to you off screen, I've started the Netflix documentary, so I just have to have the time to watch through everything.
I, I hear you.
Yeah. But Sean, as I said, it's been a great chat for the evening.
Likewise.
Um, way to get the nerves going, having to go to bed and all that. I think I'll sleep with the
Definitely.
lights on tonight.
Well, good luck with that. Never
Yeah.
know.
Um, but folks, I will finish this the way I finish every single Friday night. In the words of the great George A. Romero, ladies and gentlemen, stay scared.